All right. So, Sam Cedar, I guess, on his show, recent episode, maybe spoke about myself in a video that I did 7 months ago. Yes, 7 months ago. 6 or 7, something like that. You guys know the Fuck Them Hoe Ass Roads video, the video I uploaded, Twitter only, specifically to sort of, being animated, being overdramatic, exaggerative, and so forth. And he makes this, it was brought to my attention that they had uploaded basically a copy of the original video with some edits, zooming in, zooming out. And even the title of this video, Libertarian loses it over the roads, right? To make it seem like, oh, he's just this deranged guy losing it over the roads, right? Okay, fine. And I have done videos in the past talking about roads. I've debated this many occasions, but who cares about context? And that's fine. It was to be expected. These guys were late, and this is why, the power of YouTube, we get to respond and we get to do things of that nature. So we're going to respond to this video. We're going to watch it together. I know there's a little clip in it. I haven't watched the entire thing. I do know at the beginning there's some sort of clip in which they share the original video. We won't watch that because you guys have already seen that. It's live on my Twitter and so forth. So let's see what Mr. Sam has to say about the video.
Let's do this just to it's been a while since I've had a debate with a libertarian, and I don't know where this cropped up in my thing, and I don't know why we haven't heard from this guy ever. He seems to be super confident about about his ideology, and he has his own show.
I do.
And apparently his guru is Walter Block. And Walter Block, of course, has been a guest.
Yes, he's had Walter Block on his show. And I guess his guru, I don't know what he's saying. I guess he's referencing the fact that I do in the video, I bring up Walter Block and his work on like the roads, privatization of roads and highways, which is like almost a 500-page book.
On this program at least 2 times, right? Maybe 3. But and he seems to be it's a fascinating rant because and I must warn you, there are expletives because we know that libertarians are rebels. They swear a lot. But what's fascinating about this rant is he is both sort of like completely sure of his position, denigrating of those who disagree with it, and offering absolutely no substance.
See, this is the funny thing about this. So where he's going in, and this is why I do feel like this guy, and even in watching some of the clips of when he debates Walter Block, it's like these sort of snarky one-offs, intellectually completely dishonest. So what he's the scene, like, now again, we are 1 minute and 25 seconds into the video. So the scene he's trying to set is that, well, he does this video, right, where he's talking about how easy the question is regarding the roads, but he never actually answers the question. And again, it's so intellectually dishonest because that was never the point of that little rant. The whole point of that original rant was to point out the simple fact that pretty much every libertarian, we deal with this question of who will build the roads. Like, it's one of the main go-tos, and it's a dead giveaway that this person more than likely has never argued with a libertarian, because that's one of the first like level 1 things that we deal with in terms of arguing against one more so for when it comes to the privatization, or at the very minimum, getting the government completely out of the way of the, monopolization in their case of roads. And he's trying to set this scene up. But again, it's so intellectually lazy and it's intellectually dishonest because he's taking the rant, completely removing what was said, essentially, almost so the point, the context, and trying to set this scene like, well, he doesn't offer any. Well, that wasn't the point of the the post, Sam. Like, that was never the point of that little meme video that we did. That was never the point. If you want to look at it, and again, this is why I say he's intellectually dishonest. I go over this question. There's multiple videos and multiple debates that I've done on this subject. There's a video 3 years ago that I've done. I even updated it, and we did this video where I talk about it as well, specifically for Twitter. This stuff is live. I've debated this subject matter before. This isn't anything new, but instead of actually paying attention to that, he's looking at it from the rant like, oh, well, he must not be able to argue, which is the scene that he's trying to set. Like, I can't argue it because I don't in that particular video, which that's not the point, man. That's not the point, Sam. So that's I had to get that out of there because, again, it's just so lazy for him to do that. But this is the type of stuff this guy's on.
Whatsoever. And so I am going to dispose with his argument rather quickly after to the extent that he makes it, and then say, anytime you'd like to come on and have a larger discussion about it, welcome to do that in 2020.
I want to point out that this is how Eric July clipped this himself.
Eric July himself clipped this. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he had to say that, right? And he knew he had to say that because I brought that to their attention when they posted that original video. Like, this was me. Like, this is why I think it's lazy for them to try to set this scene up, because it was the whole idea, excuse me, of the original video was as it was a sort of meme setup, right? I clipped it. So what they did was take a clip of my original video, which I don't know if they're about to show that here. I think they're just going to show my original video, but they posted that on their official, if I'm not mistaken, their official Twitter. So yes, it was me. I uploaded. I gave you the meme content, which is why I did the video after the fact, saying that the only way leftists can meme is if they, basically copy. Essentially, we got to set the scene for them. I got to give it to you on this silver platter.
And this is the name, and then he has a YouTube show,
maybe Twitch.
A Twitch show? Is it a Twitch show? Okay.
I don't have a Twitch show, by the way. I have 4Can and Seg, which is we do this live here on my channel, YoungRippa59. Though I do have a Twitch, of course, that's not the show, but we do like that sort of my live streams and such here on YoungRippa59, as well as 4Can and Seg. Of course, you can go listen to that on all major digital platforms.
He seems to be a huge fan of comics. Cool. I mean, I'm just watching from his thing, and
surprising for a libertarian.
Is that? No. Okay. Yeah. No. Right. Okay. I get it.
A bunch of friggin' nerds.
Maturity.
A bunch of friggin' nerds. Okay, so I'm a comic book guy, and I'm a nerd. That's and I am. I believe in libertarians, and that's fine. They can giggle all they want. This is something that I speak about as well, a lot, obviously, on the channel. This is something that we're pretty open about, but she's trying to set this so he giggle, he's a nerd, he's a libertarian, this guy's a freaking nerd, so look at the comic books. Like, okay, man, like, that's fine. Like,
and here it is. Here he is making the case that if you bring up the most obvious argument, then that is remedial in his mind.
Yep. So they show it, and I'm not gonna show the whole entire video. We'll go right into what he's saying.
Well,
wow, libertarians really hate roads.
They really
yes, we do hate roads. Confirmed.
Do hate roads, and but here
if Trump gets reelected,
now,
I'm going to become a libertarian.
Of course, I've interviewed Walter Block multiple occasions, and people can go back and make their own assessments as to the soundness of Walter Block's arguments. But Mr. July, he doesn't offer any. He just says it's very remedial. Now, I don't think the idea is that.
I never used that term, by the way.
We're trying to fool.
Not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of.
Fool libertarians by bringing up roads. It is incredibly fundamental and rudimentary in many respects, because you walk out of your house and you see a road, and you say to yourself, "How did it get there?" Now, I believe that Mr. July thinks that, well, making a road is easy, and it is to a certain extent. It's not a horribly complicated physics problem on how to make a road, and in fact, we all have, not all, but many of us Americans have a relationship with private roads. And for the most part, we call them driveways. And everyone can figure out how we make a driveway. But the point is the driveway does lead to a road. And for those of us who have spent some time living in rural areas, on dirt roads, and then have actually watched the process of these roads over time maybe becoming paved, we understand why some roads would never, ever get built.
See, and that's, again, he's operating on this idea like, hey, all those of us that have lived on a rural or in a rural area where we've seen these sort of roads, even dirt roads and these sort of private roads, we know that these would never get built. And it's just, again, it's like, okay, because reasons is essentially what he's saying. It's funny that he's making the argument or lack thereof that's my position, because I didn't offer my position in the road video, the fuck them whole ass roads video. But I stay, for example, in a town that doesn't have anything more than, I believe it's only like 4,000 people in the town that I live in, and I see these roads. My parents talked about this more so my mother. In the country, Joanne, Arkadelphia, where there's just one road there, and all the houses are spread out and stuff of that nature. That was where she was raised, where I spent a lot of my summers in. So I'm very familiar, not only just now because I stay out in the middle of nowhere right now. I'm very familiar with dirt roads just from my upbringing, my mother's upbringing as well, because I'm again, I spent a lot of time. I actually lived in Arkansas for a little bit in the country. So I don't like this whole idea that it's, well, those of us that know that we live in these roads, and we're going to hear what he has to say, that we live in these areas where they're more rural. We know that these roads are not going to build. No, I don't know where he's coming up with this, and I'm going to give him time to explain himself.
When Mr. July is talking about the allocation of resources, he is saying that the smart people will allocate resources in a way, and they will.
Yep.
But the smart people, as he calls them, which I would suggest in a libertarian world would be defined by something like how much money is in your bank account. That's an indication.
And again, it's a non-argument, because what he does, and this is why, again, I think this is so dishonest of him, and people that kind of argue this point, right? They operate from a standpoint that this has to be true, right? And they believe that, okay, you have a libertarian society, guy has most money, those guys prevail in all situations and scenarios. And again, that is simply not the case. That's not even what the setup is when you consider what a libertarian society would be. And that would just simply be a society where you're talking absolute private property rights as being acknowledged, starting with self-ownership, and that is the people own themselves. And obviously you don't have the right to aggress upon another person. How much money you have, if we've gotten to the point to where we're at this libertarian society, how much money you have is completely irrelevant to that. And smart does not equal how much money that you have. There's some very smart people that may choose to, build certain things for profit, maybe choose to build certain things without profit. For nonprofit, maybe just to even break even. A lot of people will do that. A lot of smart people will end up doing that. And even it comes with the Roses argument that I've long made. I think a lot of people assume that privatization means for profit, and it doesn't. It's not synonymous to for profit. Privatization, you can do something and give it away. You can do something and it be for free. You can do some nonprofit with a group. You can do something that's more communal, and it can still be under libertarianism. It can still be under these private property rights as again, libertarians like myself that we believe in. It's not synonymous to profit or doing something and getting a lot of money because of it. People will do these things for different reasons and have different motivations in terms of, all right, do I want to make this road maybe to make some money as an investment, or do I want to have this road, or a group of people saying we just want to build, we'll pull our resources together and build this road because it all benefits us, and we won't do it necessarily for profit. We'll just do it to, let's say, break even. That's absolutely going to be the case because every individual is just that. So again, it's these guys operate from this standpoint that, okay, private equals like libertarian society without these regulations and so forth. Rich people rule overall, and that's just not the case. Certainly when it comes to decision making, like if we've gotten to the point to where it's a libertarian society, then everybody acknowledges this absolute private property right. And again, starting with self ownership, and you do not have the right to aggress upon someone, and you having $0 or $1 billion is completely irrelevant to that. As far as the fact that you don't have that right, regardless of how much money that you have.
How smart you are. The smart people would only build roads that benefit them.
And yes and no. He's going from the standpoint of, all right, well, why would I build a road if it doesn't benefit me? It may be. Again, we'll hear a little bit more of his argument here. But some people... And again, I think every individual does act in their own self-interest. The government doesn't remove that from the equation, obviously, but every individual acts within their own self, and this is a basic fundamental human action. So you're right in a sense that people maybe would build roads or only have the maybe incentive to build if it benefits them. Now, that doesn't necessarily benefit them in terms of usage. I always talked about, even from a charitable standpoint, that still isn't, it may be selfless in a sense, but in the same regard, you're still, considering your own ego. You know what I mean? So it does benefit you because it makes you feel good maybe to help other people. You know what I mean? So this idea that even to this day, people that are highly involved in maybe the church or highly involved in, it doesn't matter, charitable works, that you may personally get nothing out of it. You're going into the negative. We're talking about this with out here in Dallas, with the clique that does, feed the need, and they go out there and they feed the homeless, even though it's technically illegal. But they're armed and they go out there and they feed the homeless. Sort of feeding off the cops with their own arms, but they go and they feed the homeless. Like, I know these guys personally, and they break off bread. They take donations and some people that are donating money to pay for the food or donating the food itself, donating the supplies themselves. They'd never come into conflict with the homeless people that are getting that food, or the homeless people that are getting those products or being serviced at that point in time, yet they chose to donate. So in a sense, they are acting in they're acting being selfless almost, because they are taking somebody else's well-being in their own consideration. But in the same respects, again, it's an ego thing. It feels good to donate. So they are doing it in their own interest. It does benefit them in that regard, even though they themselves are not maybe even coming into conflict with the people that they're not a conflict, but more so they're not the ones out there, let's say, giving the food or servicing these poor people, but they chose to donate.
And now that benefit could be broader than just, I need a road to my house and my gated community with my paramilitary that's there waiting for me. It could also be like, I need a road for the serfs so that they can bring me, tribute or grains, whatever it is. But what of the serfs that live too far? Or what of the serfs who are saying, I don't want to give you grains? I just want to live my life here. But of course, I need access to other people on some level. I mean, that's the whole point. We could privatize the post office.
Like, hold on. He doesn't even, hold on. He doesn't even touch on that point. He's like, you're speaking out of sort of both sides, right? He's like, and I'm gonna rewind that for a little bit so you guys can hear what he's saying.
So that they can bring me, tribute or grains, whatever it is. But what of the serfs that live too far? Or what of the serfs who are saying, I don't want to give you grains? I just want to live my life here. But of course, I need access to other people on some level. I mean, that's
right there is, again, that's them benefiting, right? So I don't understand what point he was about to make there. Because that, even if they're like, okay, I don't want to give you grains, but I do need access to people at some level. Well, again, that's the incentive right there to, at some point, work together and utilize the roads, pay for the usage, or at the very least, do some sort of communal idea and pitching their resources together, even if they don't have a reason, or more so have a different reason from someone else to use the same road or have access to the people that maybe on the other side of town or on the other side of wherever. Like, I don't understand the point that he was trying to make there.
The whole point. We could privatize the post office. We could privatize the road system.
Yes,
the road system, but I think it's undeniable. And even someone as mentally challenged as myself, in talking to Mr. July,
to bitch ass arguments.
Yes,
Ho-ass.
For hoe ass roads, which you're obsessed
someone
with.
for me who has an affinity for the B asterisk 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 A asterisk asterisk roads.
Bro, these motherfuckers really be giggling in the background, like they just. Like I'm glad they got something out of it and they're laughing. That was the whole point of the original meme. That's the crazy thing. That was the point was to make you guys, maybe not you guys. It wasn't really, you guys are late. I mean, you kind of missed out on the fun. We were all laughing and giggling at the original video. But I'm glad they found the bitch ass roads and so forth. Are very, very funny, and they're giggling a lot throughout this video. So. I'm glad I could service them in that regard for free. They didn't pay for that video.
Say that it's undeniable that we would have fewer roads. Now, maybe that would be a good thing, but it wouldn't necessarily be a public policy decision.
No, it wouldn't.
If
Correct.
it was based upon private funding. It would only.
It won't be public if. Well, I mean, it depends on how he's defining public, though.
Benefit those people with money.
Again, like he's operating from the standpoint of this has to be true. Like this is like true. Like, and it's like just because reasons like, well, I can't envision it any other way. Therefore, people with money. Like that's not necessarily an argument, Sam, at all. Actually, I don't want to say necessarily. It's not an argument against the position at all because you would then need to prove that only people with money would necessarily benefit. It completely removes the idea of charity, or it moves the idea of people working together and voluntarily working together to build something or build towards something. In this case, when it would be a road to get to here to there, like people are very charitable right now. This idea isn't that foreign. It shouldn't be that foreign. People donate money all the time. Again, I just gave you an example in the Feed the Need thing, and even for Christmas, which is Christmas Day that I'm uploading this video, even then, those same guys that were part of that, the Feed the Need out here in Dallas, they're out there, giving away stuff to people that are less fortunate. This idea that the people more so that will utilize it or need money themselves is not necessarily true, or more so would need it to have to like pay per use or something of that nature. Again, I talked about this in the video. There's a million ways that could be done aside from just pay per use or toll tag and so forth. It just completely removes this idea that people will work together, and they absolutely would. Maybe he's snitching on himself. Maybe Sam is like, unless the government forces me, if it's a public policy in the sense that the state forces me to give money to this pool in which they then build roads for my rural areas, I wouldn't do it. Maybe he's snitching on himself. I don't know.
And the same with the post office. You're from North Dakota, correct, Matt?
That's correct, yep.
There's really no reason for us to have postal service to North Dakota, I think, largely speaking. And in many areas, I would imagine it's fairly remote, but short of Indian reservations, there's postal service that is relatively convenient to all of you. Maybe you got to go down to the local post office. But you know what? If I had to allocate resources in a way that was just about pure market efficiency, probably not.
I'll say getting
Sorry,
deliveries
Matt's family.
is more dependable in my hometown than it is in Brooklyn sometimes.
Well, I mean...
that does not surprise me because nobody has a buzzer.
Well, the point being
What?
that smart people, and I don't know how he's defining smart people.
All right, I'll define it for you. When I say smart people, when I was talking about smart people allocating those resources, I was saying that a road, in terms of how it's, you can define it as a good or a service depending on how you're using it, and in what context. It is no different from anything else, be it in food, be it in service. You go get your, single-use water bottle here that I'm drinking, 5-hour energy drink, video game that I've been playing. Or the food that I just ate, right? That the lady, made, the soup that she made and all the goods. I didn't personally, and maybe I know how in some cases when it comes to maybe hunting, when it comes to food, but in a lot of, like, as far as purifying this water, making whatever it takes to, or utilizing whatever materials it takes to make a video game system, I'm not knowledgeable on that. I don't know how to do that. So when I say that smart people will allocate those resources, I'm saying that creative way to come up with a flat space that connects people. There will be people that will create those, and that's what I mean when I say smarter people allocate those resources. It doesn't even mean that you have to, as an individual, have to know exactly how something is going to get done. It doesn't mean that you have to wait around to see if it gets done either. But what I'm saying is, when I talk about smart people allocating resources, I'm saying just like any other service, or more so any other market need, individuals work together and they come up with these creative ways. You cannot dictate what a market with 300-something million people, who's going to be the people that are going to come up with these efficient ways. And some are going to fail. Some are going to succeed. Some are going to fail. But these ways what we're really talking about is transportation and travel. It's more so what we're discussing here is how people will get from here to there, or how people will get their goods from here to there. What I mean by allocating resources, those more so smart people allocating those resources, is that just like anything else, you have people that compete within a marketplace, and you have other individuals that benefit from it. And just because you benefit from it does not mean you know exactly how that is formed, exactly how that works, the technicalities of it. You don't know the any of that. You know what I mean? In terms of how it may be created, yet you benefit from it. Doesn't matter what it is. You know what I mean? And a lot of those don't have anything to do with the government. So that's what I mean when I say smart people allocating resources.
Would allocate resources only in a way that benefits them.
Okay,
and
which I just explained.
They would determine benefit not based upon things like a civic society.
What does that mean? What is that like? Here we go with a society, right? And this is what they, I guess, make synonymous to government or whatever it's doing. It's just society, and they see what exists now, and again, as inefficient as it is, they act as if that's the only way something can be done.
Providing the most opportunity to as many people, but it would be rather, how can I?
And I don't know. I hope he's not insinuating that government does that. Like that's what they're trying to do, is try to provide the most services to the most people, the most efficient way. I hope that's not what he's saying. Because we already have proof that that's not the case.
More.
And by proof, I mean $23 trillion worth of debt, deficit spending right now. Still, federal government, that is. And when we talk about roads, I know a lot of that stuff is done state and local level. We talked about gas taxation and stuff like that.
Then those around me, thereby increasing my purchasing power, my power, broadly speaking, in society. And so those bitch-ass roads,
hoe-ass
what
roads,
they
correct.
indicate, and the reason why they are one of the first things that come up is because it basically is a perfect manifestation of a value system that says we want to include everyone.
Okay, but you see, oh my God, come on, Sam. If that's the case, then you should have enough conviction in your belief to not believe that people need to, I guess, be forced into contributing to this monopolized system of roads, which is essentially what you're advocating when government has that control. So it's funny that these people like Sam make that argument, though they acknowledge that individuals within it, in this geographical area, have acknowledged themselves that this is something that they need, and they benefit from it. That you would think in a freer world, again, just because roads aren't synonymous to government, believe it or not. But either way, in a freer society, There that word go, a society again. But in a freer society, dare I say libertarian society, if people recognize that as a market need, they will absolutely, that'll be the first things that would be addressed in said market. And I talked about this in my other videos and how it's not just the rich people that need to benefit. And I think it's a way that unfortunately, they don't acknowledge this at all, because they look at, well, rich people would be the only people that would use the roads. They the only people benefit from it. They never they go from A to Z and then what they do, unfortunately, they skip everything in between. And what I mean by that is that rich people get rich, and certainly in this freer society, let's say, dare I say, a libertarian society, is a main anarcho-capitalist or more minarchist, which in, minarchists, I advocate for a state in some way, shape, or form. But either way, you're acknowledging that people need it. And if you're saying that rich people are the only ones that would utilize it, it's functionally silly. It's functionally false, actually, because how they get rich is determined by if people voluntarily purchase their services or goods. Sam, if poor people or middle class people or whatever class people that's not rich don't have access to your goods, those rich people can't be rich people. This is why I said in my other video about this, when I talk about who built the roads, there's a whole lot of people that are maybe rich within different industries that have an incentive to have roads affordable for people that aren't rich, be it the automobile industry, be it people that are transporting goods, so food industry. Doesn't matter. If people can't travel to your goods, people can't give you money, you can't be rich. So this idea that, well, the rich or just the people with the money themselves will be the only people that would have sort of this incentive, and it's just simply not true, because if we're talking about a freer society, they recognize that they need as many people as they can to access their particular goods. What better way than to do that than to have some way that people can afford to travel there? So again, this goes back to transportation. I've talked about, who people might be flying. We might be one technological advancement away from not even having this discussion, because people may be flying over those bitch ass roads. But nonetheless, it's easy to say rich people, not understanding how they got there if we're talking about a free or voluntary society. If I'm rich, I have an incentive for people. Like, I'm rich by way of having some sort of good that people are willing to pay for. And the more people that can pay for it, the richer I can get. More so, the more people that can access whatever good that I'm selling, the more, money that I get. That's the only way that I can become rich. So I have an incentive to have a way that people can travel to my stores, let's say, no matter where they're at, no matter what their economic situation is, if they're going to purchase my goods. So that doesn't mean that's the only way that it would be done. I'm just saying that's so many different industries that find that as a necessity. Not just them traveling on the roads themselves to transport goods to, let's say, maybe their stores and whatnot, but also so people can actually purchase their goods. People can actually utilize their goods and utilize their services that they offer at various amounts and various different places. It's not synonymous to just rich people. A lot of people would have that incentive, or more so, a lot of people would need access to, let's say, these goods, and they got to get from point A to point B.
In society, that everyone in some way has the capacity and the ability to contribute to society, even if they're not doing so at that very moment, and that everyone should in some way, because of the social contract that we have.
Oh my God, there is no such thing as a social contract. Please show it to me if it exists, because I didn't sign anything.
Everyone should enjoy it.
Not unless I was under duress.
At least a basic minimum, and we argue over what the basic minimum is.
Yes, that's correct.
Of the output of society. And that's why it comes up first. But
it comes up first because that's a thing that's monopolized. And so I agree and disagree because I think he's not really, he's trying to make it sound a lot, dare I say, smarter than what it actually is. It's just a thing that the government monopolizes and gives you. That's all it is. The monopolize and really more so pays other people after stealing your money to build. And they control over, they argue and, control essentially where those roads get built, how they can be built, who can build them, and so forth. All that's dictated, by the state. So it didn't matter if it was roads or whatever. I mean, it's just sort of the generation that we've come up in. Like Rothbard has stated before when talking about these bitch-ass roads, he's also discussed how people... If it was shoes, let's say if the government monopolized shoes, you would have, any idea of privatization, you'd have people saying that, well, people would go without shoes, how would people, cover their feet, how would people walk here and there, like all that, you'd have that same sort of position. So it's less about, oh, well, we recognize that we need this. No, that's not what it is. It's just the fact that the state has monopolized this, and you've seen it come into fruition. No matter how inefficient it is, you've seen it and you utilize these roads. Therefore, you can't possibly envision a way that it would be done in a similar matter, which I don't know why it is that you'd assume that we'd advocate that anyway, because I'd argue that a lot of this is inefficient. But nonetheless, you can't really say it's for that reason, more so with the people have realized that they need this, and it's just, no, the state monopolized it, and they just see it.
Just because it comes up first doesn't mean we're trying to fool anybody. It's just that.
Well, a lot of people are. A lot of people, this is why you must not drive on the roads. People word it like that. They're absolutely trying to fool you, Sam.
Libertarians have a very difficult time to answer it, and I don't care.
No, we don't have a difficult time to answer. Like, this is not a difficult thing. This is why the whole road thing, bitch, fuck them whole ass roads, meme rant came up about more so in the first place, is because it's not a difficult thing to answer. You need it to be difficult because you need it to stump libertarians, but it's not a stumping thing. It's just very easy to answer. I've just answered it. I've answered it before. I've answered it in multiple videos, and there's plenty of other libertarians that can answer it in other ways. It's not a difficult thing. It's like so basic.
If Walter Block has written an entire book on it,
which he has.
I spent a decent amount of time talking to Walter Block.
Well, yes, you interviewed him, and with your sort of snaky, I would say, these sort of tactics, Walter, that was your conversation. And either way, you're not really discussing what popped off in the actual book.
And,
I gotta say, can go to a fifth court, and then you flip a coin on the seventh court.
But I want to make this.
See, like, these guys think these like little snarky, cornball jokes. You know what I mean? That, again, this is leftism in a nutshell. Trying to be funny, right? He's making the whole. I don't know who the fucking cornball is. It's on the other side of the mic, trying to make fun of Walter Block. But whatever.
This time we
an invitation.
Lowered the age of consent.
I want to remind. This is just a period.
Who the fuck is who? Hold on, man. Which one of y'all mans is that? Like, who is that? Who's homie's trying to? I guess again, he's trying to mock Walter Block. Who the fuck is that?
A clear reminder. End of the year.
Somebody let me know in the chat who the fuck that guy is.
2019. If you're a libertarian.
Yeah.
And you want to discuss any of this or any other issues, you can call in at 646-25.
First of all, nonetheless, I have no desire to discuss this with him. But however, if he wants me to show up and he would like to have a broader conversation, this is where I'm at with it. Just like anybody else, he can reach out to me, he can email me. I don't personally have any desire to go on his show. But if he wants to make that happen, we can make it happen. He can reach out to me. I'm open to it. I will say this, just so you guys understand this. I talked about this in my last video. I completely agree to that. If either we can simulcast this and I can do this on my show and your show at the same time, or at the very least, because all this is when he talks about these discussions, it's not a discussion. It's them trying to do, it's Sam trying to trap you essentially and ask you, grilling you questions, which I'm fine with. You know what I mean? I'm perfectly fine with. But I would like to have some sort of agreement where I will show up on yours and you can show up on my show, and it'll be sort of I'll put the ball in your court, and I'm going to have to ask you some questions about your ideology, which I noticed that his position is just contrarianism in a lot of cases. So I would love to see if we can have a conversation in that regard and see if he can answer questions about the personal philosophy or ideology that he chooses to adopt. So I'm 100% up for it. And we can set that up. He's going to have to initiate that because that's just what it is. Just because I know his debate tactic, though. However, that's what would have to happen. He needs to reach out to me. I have no desire to sit up here and wait in line. I'm at this point in my career calling people on fucking, on their own little shows between X amount of time. Nah, fuck that. If you want, just like everybody else, if you want me on, I do these podcasts, I do these shows and such, you can hit me up. You can contact me at info@ericdjuly.com if you want to make that happen. If not, that's fine. You can go about your business. But I'm absolutely willing. And just like I said, let's either simulcast, let's do my show, your show. We can do a collaborative effort, or at the very least, you got to come to my show and answer some questions. And I'm 100% up for it.
573920, or you can tweet at us, and we will always endeavor to have you on the program and discuss those topics. And you can
really
start by telling me what kind of libertarian you are and how there's no other libertarians that know what they're talking about, and then we can take.
So what? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's this sort of audience laughter that these guys have going on with their show. I mean, I'm not very familiar with this show. I would love for people in the comment section to let me know if that's just something that they do. Is they just have guys in the fucking background laughing? I don't even know what the fuck did he say that was funny.
Take it from there.
Some libertarians think this and this. Isn't it a problem for you, Sam, though, that potholes have been extinct for a year and a half? Don't you remember? I mean, nobody's seen a pothole for a year and a half.
Nobody. Oh, boom. Oh yes, we did. There you.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm clearly not in the loop. But yeah, we just wanted to do this video responding to everything that he had to say. And like I said, like this whole thing started, and I thought it was lazy. I thought it was very dishonest because it starts referencing a video that was never designed to actually answer the question of who would build the roads more so in a freer society. That was never the intention. However, that's what he ran with and tried to make it seem as if, that was, he never answered. Like, okay, no, that wasn't what it was designed to do. Like, it's like if I do a video about Batman, and you asked me about Luke Cage or something like that, and you never talked about Luke. No shit, that wasn't the design of the actual video. The video was me basically. It was a meme. Fuck them whole ass roads, because you're not stumping a libertarian by bringing it up, and this is why I call it basic bitch shit. That's all. But I've done videos, like I said, and I will show you. There are other. Oh, excuse me. There are other, other videos that I've done talking about the roads. I've been doing these for years. There's other debates that I've done, and I continue to have this conversation about the roads. Man, I am tripping with the stream deck. I continue to have these conversations about the roads, and I have live debates myself. You know what I mean? On my channel, we've talked about roads. We've discussed roads in depth. I'm talking hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long debates that I've had talking about and discussing this topic. It isn't anything new. It's not stumping. It's not anything. It's not anything that requires a lot of thought. It's not one of the more difficult things that I would consider when it comes to, who will build the roads. But I have done those videos. It's intellectually lazy and dishonest to act as if I can't, or I have not done it just because you're referencing a video that was never designed to answer that question in the first place. And maybe my answer is not going to suffice. I know that a lot of people still aren't pleased with the answer because I say things like markets will figure it out, and they expect these like precise answers, which is silly, because the whole idea of us being advocates of free markets is because we realize that we aren't dictators. We aren't tyrants. We can't decide what's best, the most efficient way to come up with things. Again, I utilize so many different goods and services that I have absolutely no idea how to create. None. But I utilize them. You know what I mean? And I buy them voluntarily. I purchase it. Like that's the idea of trade. That's the idea of why we're an advocate of free markets instead of monopolization, right? Where you don't have any competition in that regard. That's all. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, they assume that well, how exactly is it going to get done? And then they come up with these preposterous what ifs and they're, well, what if this and this, and they try to get you. So it doesn't matter what I'd say, it wouldn't suffice. But nonetheless, my job isn't to have an answer for every single way how, because I don't know. I have no ability to predict that. You know, I can't see into the future. I don't know how exactly more precise. I can come up with ideas. I can theorize. What you can do, we can do that all day. But no libertarian knows exactly how it's going to come up, because people have been creative over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, and come up with things that people utilize and a lot of other individuals benefit off of, and which those individuals that are benefit have no idea how those are created or the process that it takes. So I'm not under any obligation to come up with this precise way. Who exactly will be, how I don't know. I can give you ideas. I can talk about these ideas. I can theorize these ideas, but there's no way that I can predict that. That's the whole reason why I want to get it out of government hands, because they think they can predict the most efficient way, and we know that they can. That's all. This isn't a difficult question, and I don't know why they present that as. It's not a difficult, it's a very, very basic question. It's one of the things that you first encounter, because you guys aren't used to really arguing with libertarians for the most part, no matter how many people Sam claims he debates. And I'm not saying that he hasn't debated libertarians. That I know he's talked to Dave Smith, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So I know he's talked to libertarians, but the whole point of the video and why a lot of libertarians thought it was funny and they felt it was because they've all dealt with it. You've talked to some statists who can't envision a world without monopolized roads. And that's the first question that he asked. Hey, you're a libertarian. Who built the roads? It's not a difficult question to answer. And I don't know why they keep presenting it as such. Hope you enjoyed this video. And again, my email box is wide open if you want to contact me. I'm not calling into this guy's show. No matter how many of these guys raid my posts and my streams or my tweets and they say, debate Sam Cedar. It is not on me to make that happen. I personally have zero desire to talk to this man. Only reason I'm here and I'm doing this video is because they initiated this. I've never mentioned this guy on any of my streams. They do a video, or more so they did that video, or more, I think it's a clip from one of their shows, but they also took my original video and they uploaded it. So, that's the reason why I'm here. I don't have any desire to speak to that man. If I did, I would have reached out, but I'm not. But if you want me, you can reach out. And you don't have to. I'm not trying to, it is what it is. But no amount of trying to, you're scared. Like, bro, we have debates on my channel all the time. Like, at least like through the week. I don't know how many times. And if that's something that you want to do, most definitely you can get in contact with me, just like everybody else and all the other platforms who seem to know the proper way to contact people when they want them on their shows. Not call in. It's usually one of those things of, hey guys, I'm gonna have my producer or whoever, I'm gonna have them email this person. We can set it up, and then you know what I mean. Here's the time. We set all of that up. We can do all of that, but you gotta initiate that. And if you don't, that's fine. It is what it is. It is what it is.